it.
I'm sitting on so much stuff. It's not even funny. And this is about to go off.
I'm gonna kick that. Hold on. Oh man.
Kick it!
No, I don't want to kick it. We are kicking it. I don't. The computer didn't ask for that. Did you just throw your phone?
It's not important.
What the fuck are you doing?
The only thing that's important is where I am right now. And right now, I'm here
Ooh, we
with
can
you.
put this on.
I am very sexy, but like, even though I look like a mountain and you look like a mouse in that chair, so.
That's okay. Did you know my mom calls me Mighty Mouse? Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, that's like an old TV show or something. I don't know.
It is, yeah.
But yeah, so she called me Mighty Mouse. So that's funny. You're like,
Wait, am I getting the races mixed up? Mighty Mouse and what's the little... I'm not gonna
Speedy
say
Gonzalez?
it. Yeah.
Racist bitch.
See, you said its name, and I wasn't, because I was like, this is gonna lead into a very...
I've never seen Mighty Mouse. I have no idea.
I confused him with the Latino mouse.
That doesn't help me. I don't know what Mighty Mouse looks like.
True, but that's almost like... In my head, I'm thinking, like, this is that whole crap about all black people don't look the same.
Well, okay, so at that point, are you going to compare Speedy Gonzalez and Jerry?
No, because Jerry's... Well, maybe
You literally just said
we don't
all people.
But Jerry doesn't talk.
Okay, well that depends on which era of Tom and Jerry you're talking about. First of all,
I thought we were doing old school because Speedy Gonzalez has not been
Well, no, but they're the same color mouse. Is what I'm getting at. The only difference is the fucking hat. Am I wrong? Like Jerry is brown.
Jerry's ears are bigger, and
bitch, what did you just say? You said. Overgeneralizing, like, oh, black people look the same.
In my head, I was like trying not to be that racially profiler, being like, oh my god, all rats look the same, and then I need to stop because this thing.
You just went crazy.
Moving on, guys. We're still. I hope she edits all of this out because that was terrible on my part.
Probably, but it's
I'm racist towards rodents. I was a rodent racist.
You know what was really funny? Speaking about rodent racist, Liam, did I send you those screenshots? That damn bug.
Okay,
all on my foot.
So before you finish that sentence, all my brain did was go to the nasty ass picture you sent me of that. First of all,
so bad.
No, viewers, no. She had the audacity to send me 4.
It was cool. It was good photography.
Okay, no. 4 screenshots of what I can only describe in the picture was like, is that a crustacean? Should that be in the ocean? Because that's what it looked like. Because she got really, first of all, how close did you get to that damn thing?
Here's the thing. When it comes to bugs.
I hope you can post a screen of it. Maybe we should be able, if she can, in her production magic.
If I can edit it, that'd be super cool.
I want her to show a picture of this.
I'll put it right here, maybe. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe we'll see.
Of this weird thing that I thought was like a crustacean.
It's a house centipede.
I looked it up.
Well, okay, sorry. I forgot. 4 people told me what it was.
And then watch the 30-minute video of all the night crawlers in conjunction to those guys.
You making that up?
No, I'm dead serious. Stella and Lincoln literally were right next to me like, let's watch the video, Uncle. And I was like, okay, cool. And it was 30 minutes of us learning about this goddamn bug.
Wow.
And other types of bugs that were in the same family. Which I was like, oh, okay, cool. Not that serious. I thought it was a shrimp. I thought it needed to be put in the ocean. I wasn't sure.
I thought it was a shrimp.
But
it was like curl. It was like, you know, snakes lift up. They're just their upper bodies a little bit, but the rest of their bodies on the floor. So, it kind of looked like it was going so I see what you mean by shrimp.
It was either way nasty. And then she told me it crawled on her foot.
It did, and it was like a feather tickling me, and it freaked me the fuck out.
Even worse.
It was so
I'm the worst earth sign in the world, just so everybody knows. I think, you know what?
Are you earth sign?
Yeah,
me too.
Virgos. Virgo earth signs, we don't talk about or nature.
Oh, neither do I.
Taurus earth signs, I think they're like the camping koala bears. Like they're really? they hug trees and shit. I'm like, no, don't.
I will definitely look before I hug a tree, just in case, because ants and stuff. I used to climb trees all the time when I was a kid. You have to hug a tree to climb it. There's no way around it. I love how your insect of warning was like an ant, not like a spider or a snake or on the top of a rodent. I guess so. Because there's just if you're gonna think about square inches on a tree, you're more likely to run into lots of ants than one spider. Because ants are just everywhere. True. In my opinion.
Or, yeah. We have gotten way off topic.
So off topic.
But maybe we'll do this as a beginner.
No, because I was gonna mention the damn
she's
Snapchat. Hold on. Oh. Stop.
She's using lots of profanity before Memorial Day weekend. Again. Yeah.
So I was like, what did I say?
I feel like my microphone's doing it again where it's running from my mouth.
Oh, I was like, you stay outside with your crazy looking ass and roaches out there.
Can we talk about that dialogue? Because I looked at that dialogue and I was like, that is not my Sierra.
No, that's how I talk with, I'm referencing talk with my best friend, Liam, who we mentioned earlier in the podcast, in season 1. But yeah, he was just, we were going back and forth about this damn bug, and he was like, so I was freaking out, I was sweating after this bug being on my foot, and I was like, dude, look at this thing, and then he starts spitting facts at me, they do this and that. I never knew that. And they eat and I was like, bitch, stay outside with your crazy looking ass and these roaches out there. So, that's what I said.
I can't. So to Liam, I'm gonna shout out to you because when Sierra texts you some weird ass shit, 9 times out of 10, it's because she herself has not navigated what the fuck it is. She's just kind of like,
oh yeah, 100%. It's so first thoughts.
Per my blind friend expectation bond, it's like, dude, I'm sending you this. What is it? Figure this out. I don't know. I need to figure this out.
Were you supporting him?
Yeah, I'm if it was I did the same thing. I was like, okay, girls, okay, what's this? Is it gonna kill her? Is she gonna be dead? You go to the hospital? That was. I guess that was just the vibe when we met. The demeanor that you gave me is when I give you some
Actually, I just wanted a bunch of dead throwing up emojis. That was all I wanted from any of you. Just vibing there for a second and going,
we took it way too seriously. We both went on National Geographic.
My mom did too. She sent me a whole article about it. My friend Tip is the only one who actually met me where I'm at.
But I want to recognize that this is not a reflection of us. This is how we show love and support for Sierra. We give her factoids instead of emojis. And now you're telling me, I would rather be loved and appreciated.
Just at that moment, I was having oh god, I had to stop. I was listening to an audiobook for work while I was doing some stuff when this bug was crawling on me. And I was so out of it. I couldn't even listen to an audiobook. I couldn't focus. I was sweating. That thing was on my foot. I was
It moved pretty fast. Wasn't it quick?
I didn't see it move. I only felt it move. And then once I freaked the hell out, it just froze. That's the thing. So
you had a phantom moment where
I just felt
something, and then in the corner of your eye, you're like,
yup.
That's
and I just
moving.
Jumped.
Oh, that's worse.
Yeah.
That's worse. It'd be different if you're like, oh, it's crawling on my foot. Cool.
No, I didn't.
Well, I think you probably would have kicked it and it would have been a mess. But
I don't know. I still don't even know if it was on my foot or if it went crawly like this and sort of went like that. I couldn't even tell.
Well, it was based on my research in my little 30-minute bug video, they don't necessarily, it's got 30 legs, and they kind of when I was watching the guy pick up a couple of them, they kind of do that, but they
sideways.
But they curve up, they kind of hug. They don't really go
That's
they don't detour. They're like, and I'm gonna hug you.
So he just he did a little hello, and I said, fuck you.
We're like, fuck.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, but then after I freaked out, he was like, wow, way to discriminate against those bugs. Because I was like, do that shit outside. Don't bring that shit in here. And
I don't think that's discrimination.
He said,
you let it live.
He said, buggus. No, I didn't. I killed that bitch.
Okay, that part was left out, ladies and gentlemen. We are not.
I smashed it with a yoga block because I was afraid it was going to be crinkly. I didn't want to feel it.
Choice was.
That's really all I had there.
Namaste outside.
No matter how many tissues I had between my hand and that bug, it was going to be hardy and crunchy, and I didn't want to feel it.
Oh my god!
Because it just looked like that.
Your word pictures are taking me back to literally where I'm feeling it between my fingers, and I'm hearing it like a phantom.
I felt fuzzy for hours after that. Phantom crawls all over my body for hours.
Actually, viewers, I hope you like this because I feel like this is going to be our small little short. I feel like this is.
I could just cut this and put it.
I think we need to just have this the bug moment.
Oh yeah, the bug moment.
Bug shot.
Absolutely.
Oh wait.
And then after I smashed it with the yoga block, some of the legs fell off, and they were still moving on their own accord. Like how when you get squid at a restaurant, and then sometimes after they.
No, I don't know what it's like to get squid at a restaurant.
Not even calamari.
Okay,
fried calamari.
Remember, I was so scared of seafood for a long time and not knowing the difference.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
And then my friend, one of my good friends, he
allergic to shellfish.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
here's the thing.
I forgot.
When I was a kid, there was some shrimp, and then me, and some itching, and some crying, and some tears, and some not breathing. So at that point, at that traumatic moment in time, I was like, well, fuck it, I'm not going to touch this shit ever again.
Yeah.
My twin sister can eat and do all the things with the seafood. I don't want to fuck with it.
No, that's good. But like, because you know, sometimes when you get shrimp, especially if it's not fried but just cooked, sometimes it still moves a little bit because there's just like that nerve. I don't know what that's called.
An entryway for me to be curious to go to an allergist and get it because she's talking about how it's still gonna fucking.
I don't think shrimp counts as shellfish, so you could probably eat it because that's not a shellfish. Like it's
seafood.
Seafood. It's like trying to say salmon might be shellfish. It's not the same. I don't know, but you'd probably be worried about it, like cross contamination in the kitchen. Like frying shrimp with frying.
Because I like sometimes when I've had those moments where I'm like that tastes like seafood. There's a little itch happening, but again, I don't know if that's mental or placebo or whatever the case is. But I'm too much of a chicken shit, and you know, I don't want to deal with it now because I'm 40, and what if something? I have too many other health things that I'm like, the last thing I want to do is worry about fucking everything.
You've come to peace with not being able to eat seafood for like your entire life.
I'm like, I ain't missing much.
You just won't be able to live in Asia. That's all.
There's nothing wrong with Asia.
You wouldn't even fit in Asia. You're so damn tall. You hit your head on everything.
I think, but I've heard this thing about international like black people, black men, just black. Okay. Black in other places that are not predominantly black people across the shores.
Right.
Are more attractive, more sought after, and more like
exotic.
Well, yeah, I mean, technically, there's work. We're considered exotic. And I'm like, in the United States, I ain't shit. But take me across the shores, I'm like, God.
Yeah, you also got to think, like, Asia, Japan, I'm thinking of in my head, Japan, is a country where they don't really navigate outside of, like, people go on vacation, but they don't tend to leave their country. Like, how Americans, they're like, I want to go see the world. And, like, Europeans do that. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, the one thing that I've realized, and I think is hilarious, and that I think, I heard something in my reels, where this guy was like, I take 3 weeks off, like I check out, like he has his main career, but he literally unplugs for 3 weeks, and I was like,
cool.
As an American, but I'm like, well, you know, in my career, we have to worry about Chinese New Year, and then apparently Portugal shuts down in August. They all take a month off, and I was like, how many other? I mean, if people leave this in the comments too. If you know of any other continents that take like a holiday.
You said continents.
Continents, countries.
There you go.
I've been using words wrong. Sierra is like the word, not whisperer, but like, she's the word warden. Like, I'm in jail with words, and she is just like clanging the keys in my cell, and she just gets me every time.
Well, no, it's like you get let out on house arrest, and then you try to step outside with your bracelet, and I'm like, no, bitch.
I think it's cute that she gave me house arrest. It's much more like I'm in it like
it's just words.
I'm in assisted living with wordplay. I'm not even in my own home because I can't spell it correctly.
Well, if I didn't bring it to your attention, well, I look stupid too because it's like, well, did she notice that?
I don't think that's the case at all.
That's what I think about, right? So if I don't say something, I look complicit, and then also you don't get to change and evolve and get better, and I'm just trying to help you grow.
I love that about our friendship. That you're like, Brandon, you're not going to make me look stupid, so use the right words. But I mean,
that's not how I meant it. That's exactly what I said.
To an insecure person, that's what they would have heard. But in my head, I was like, well, thanks. I mean, I don't want you looking down, so I love how your reminder is like, I'm complacent to your stupidity, so I can't commit to that as your friend and to myself. So it's like, I feel like that's a double-edged sword where both people win. Okay, but that was a great little bit of, you know, I'm going to call it You Still Bugging.
It's still bugging me.
Yeah.
So. The thing with bugs for me is, I will get close to them and do whatever I want with them, like, as long as they're not touching me.
First of all,
the second they start touching me,
get close to something you don't want to touch? Like, I'll get close to them and do whatever with them. Like, what do you mean, kill them?
Well, I didn't touch it. I used to do it. But my thing is, like, I will up to the point of touching. I don't mind bugs, not the flying ones, but I don't mind like crawly bugs. You know, like I'll watch a tarantula like with this much space between us, and I'll take pictures. and I'll like get up in there and want to look at it. But if it like touches me, I'm done. I'm freaking the fuck out. I'll have like anxiety. Like nope. But I don't mind just being close looking at it. They don't gross me out just on face value. You know what I mean? Like it has to
like they're creatures.
Involuntarily come onto me, and it's like what? That's
it's like when they break your space barrier. You're like, and now it's near you.
Yeah.
I can love you from a distance.
And it's not gonna be me.
Not the same way. I'm like, stay in your nature. This is indoors. Right.
But also, the funny part is when I was a kid, we didn't have like pest control on the house. So in the rainy season, we would get all kinds of ants that would come in and take refuge, and we just like had ants in the house. It was bad. So put that aside. I would get really sad. So this is like, mind you, this is like 5-year-old me. Okay, I was like the ant saver. So when I would run the bathtub or something, and I realized some ants got caught, I would pick up toilet paper and be like, no! I would grab it and put it on the sink, and I would cry, and like that was me. So we've come a long way. I think that's why I'm okay with getting up close and looking. But
dude, I'm bugging because I can't believe you were telling me. Actually, I can because I can picture a little old you.
That's my heart.
I can tell.
Yeah.
But I can just literally see you literally like, stop!
Yeah. Like, I would also go, this isn't a bug, but my mom and I, when it was raining, or like after it was raining and the worms get like on the sidewalk and stuff and they get stuck, we'd save the worms. We'd take leaves or paper and we'd like pick them up and put them back on the grass.
You're like a pre-Buddhist before you even knew it.
I don't really know. I mean, I get what you mean about Buddhism.
No, okay, I just said I'm only referencing that from like films. So again, I'm discredited because I didn't do my actual research and homework about the word or the religion or the practice.
I was of the mindset like life mattered when I was a kid, and it would devastate me when things were like if I had the notion that they were in danger or they might die or I don't know. It didn't matter what it was. I just had a big heart. So
you still have a big heart. It's a lot more.
Well, it's a lot more fun too.
It has bricks like this little building that I'm looking at that looks like a bunch of crickets are trying to come through it. Speaking of bugs, but because I'm bugging. Either way, this was a fun little talk about. Yeah. I think we should do more like this where we just find a rando and then be like,
it's gonna happen.
A rando before the.
It's gonna happen no matter what.
I can't do a double word today. I was trying to do a rando and a rando for our remix, but I'm like, that's not right.
No worries. So we're actually gonna talk about obsession when it comes to like how.
But first, before we do that.
Oh yeah.
I'm Brandon.
And I'm Sierra.
And it's Small Talks Lane.
Still podcast.
Still.
Sorry if that intro was like... If I keep all that stuff in the beginning, that was a lot before the intro.
And
apologies.
Welcome to, this is season 2.
Yeah.
Episode 3.2.
3.2.
Yeah. We started off with we had a really good flow when we were talking about obsession. And how, this season's all about passion, but obsession is a very misguided version of what people assume is passion. And
like off the deep end.
And I guess when we last talked about it, I was in this place of, like toxic obsession, or is there, I now when I think about it now, it's like, is there a healthy version of, there's nothing healthy about obsession, I don't think.
I think
they can't live in that house.
No, I think the healthy version of obsession is where it branches off into dedication, like what you were talking about before. Because you really, like, if you're going to be intensely dedicated to something, there has to be like even if you take, for instance, a master's degree or a PhD, right? You have to be obsessed about something because you have to write your thesis. You have to come up with an original idea and say why it matters. And there's a lot of dedication that comes into that space, and but it is obsession. Like everyone has a reason for getting that high of a degree, and they're hyper focused on something. And as long as it's directed properly, like I think that's probably the line. But go ahead.
No, the funny thing, we tried this off the air, and I was still trying to find like a. Is there a bridge? Like I don't think it's a bridge. I think it's one of like stick stone. like, I feel like the road to, like, what we're trying to, like, the road to the experience of passion, dedication, whatever else like that, I feel like it's on the same, like, dirt, but one's a stick, one's a stone.
Oh, okay.
It's still a path, but they're not the same mechanics to, like...
Oh, I agree that they're not the same.
Yeah.
But if we're going to talk about, you know, the extremes at both ends of the spectrum, they're gonna differentiate themselves towards the end. Everything in the middle, I feel like, probably would be regular passion, and then as you go towards the extremes, it starts to segue into other pathological type things in their own way. True. So I don't think it's dishonest or unfair to say that obsession could be positive in certain contexts. But that's the thing, though. It's in a certain context.
Yeah, and I think I want to take that and be like, okay, so let's apply those layers into people, into experiences. Me personally, people. Maybe not places so much, because I feel like places don't really do that kind of thing. Like, I'm not obsessed with them all. I'm not obsessed with.
Oh well.
Like, some people are like, I'm obsessed with targeting. I love that.
I disagree. You can't do that, and we'll get into that later.
Oh, okay. I mean, the only time I had to deal with a person maybe who was obsessed, and I'm sitting way away from the camera, you don't see anybody either, is one of my exes just could not accept that it was over. Like,
oh, right, that story.
Like,
okay, yeah.
It was in a violent, not a violent, I don't.
Can you bring your mic closer? If you're gonna say it like that, just bring it closer.
Oh.
Yeah, there you go.
It was violent. No. It was in this weird space of, like, actually in two of my relationships where I was like, wait, what? How? Your actions led to me feeling like this is an obsession of yours. I'm not a part of that choice. But now I need to explain to you why you show that. Like,
let me rephrase. So you had somebody that you were dating where there were certain actions that took place that were obsessive. It was obsessive behavior. It was obsessive about something. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, to my eyes, in those moments, I was like, you're obsessed. Like, this is...
With?
People, places, and things.
Okay, so just... And then that made it difficult to have the relationship?
Yeah, they were not, like, when it comes to, like...
They were rigid?
Well, it was, like, selective. Like, you showed more connection and growth and commitment to, like...
Oh, it was, like...
all the other outside things of our relationship versus the relationship itself.
So he wasn't... The attention was getting taken away.
Like, this was, like... this was, like... Okay, security blanket, comfort zone, but, like... Mm-hmm. Real connection, real, like... I don't know, in a relationship... Like, when I think of relationships now and I look back at these ones, I'm like, I was just, like, good on paper. Like, it was the perfect security.
You were?
Yeah, like, I was the security of, like, the trophy, the insert here. I realized that, like, I was the insert here. So then, when I started realizing that
you weren't satisfied with that.
Yeah, like, my worth was just like, okay, I'm letting that define the worth of me and the relationship while I'm watching them show different energies and frequencies to all this other stuff. I'm like, but I don't get any of that. It's like what Carrie says, like, she gets Mr. Sparkle and I get Mr. Sit on the couch and do jack shit.
Right.
Yeah.
So there was some envy going on, and then when you brought... So, did you bring that up, and then you just fix it, and then...
I tried to bring it up organically, because, you know, at least for me, I always say, there's 30-70, 50-50, 20-80, there's some... It's not just the other person. Yeah, there's some participation points, period, that I have to own, regardless. But when it came to, like, trying to come to that place of being like, okay, I'm going to take my 20%, you know...
And I would like you to take yours, and it just wouldn't happen. And so at
that... Or be like, what do you mean? Are there points, not candy pieces? Or like dots? I was like, what do you mean? Like, what? Okay.
So they just didn't see their behavior in the way that you saw it, is what you're getting at.
Yeah, like the relationship ideology as far as our communication styles and how we talk to each other, our dialogue just was never, I don't know. I think I'm getting off topic of why I consider they obsessed people, but because when it ended...
Well, no, it tracks. I'm keeping it on topic.
When it ended, when I got strong enough to say, okay, this I can't, then it was like, explain to me why. Why is it, like, I don't understand this feeling. I'm like... Oh.
Well, that's why I asked you to bring it up before. Because if you hadn't brought it up before, and all of a sudden you were just like, I'm out, I could see where the shock would be like, what do you mean? Like, you know, but if you had brought it up multiple times, or at least once,
so, like, to the point where I was like, so cognitively begging, like, just own it.
Right.
Like, or like, in one situation, like, infidelity, like, just own it. Like I've tried it.
They double down.
I've tried opening the relationship.
No, did they double down?
No, they tried to get smarter, but just got dumber.
Oh.
It's almost like...
So, like, just lies, or just
like, dumb lies. Like, you've got
easily
keys.
proven.
Yeah, like, you've got keys to go rent a car. Like, you've got keys. Like, go test drive.
Yeah.
But don't lie when I'm like, oh, you picked the Lamborghini today? Oh, no, it's a Ford. Bitch, this is the Lamborghini key.
Okay.
Like,
right. So, well, it sounds like that person just has a hard time dealing with the reality of their actions in, I'm going to guess, multiple places of their life.
I recognize that in the very beginning, which is why I didn't get to... I feel like I was stupid in the beginning when I was like, okay, let's talk about this. Why did the mistake happen? Why was the infidelity, blah, blah, blah. Because of how I saw them beforehand and what I understood. But after a while, you start looking stupid. And
that happens. I've done that. Like, it's
like,
human.
Forgive is not...
It's
not a ticket for...
everything else.
Revolvers.
Yeah.
So, but the part that I really wanted to type was like, it just, when I ended it, then they became obsessed with me. Then I got the energy that I guess was maybe somewhat trying to invoke or inspire or grow, but it became a very weird, nasty place. Yeah.
I misunderstood. So, okay, it was once the toy got taken, not to be rude, but like once the toy got taken away, that's when they went nuts and were like, I need the toy. That was... Sorry, I'm just like, I was thinking like dogs. That reminds me of my dogs. Not gonna lie. Like, they'll not want a toy at all. It will have laid on the floor for like 3 days. They won't have touched it. As soon as I go put it away, they pull out the cubby, they bring it back out. It's like, that you know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because our dogs, like, Sasha would care less about a bone, but if Buddy picks it up,
oh, that too. Yeah.
She's like, dude, it's my bone.
Uh-huh.
Even kids do it. Like, I watch my niece and nephew do it all the time. Like, you weren't even talking about the television.
You weren't even looking at that.
You were in the other room, actually. You were in the other room, and now all of a sudden you're in here talking about jelly beans. What? Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I feel like that kind of obsession was the hardest for me to kind of look at and say,
where was all this before?
Yeah, and then to resist it as like, now I'm getting what I want, but I had to punish you, but that's not like...
That's typical, like really typical immature behavior. I'm not gonna lie. It's very... like people who...
It's my track record, guys.
No, not you.
I know, but them. No, but like...
that's your...
I've had repeat offenders.
Yeah.
So it's okay. So, yeah.
I mean... Yeah, until you start to really get picky. Like, I can definitely remember, like, a distinct time in my life, my dating life, when I got picky. And there was still, even after I got picky, there was still someone that wove in and didn't fit what I needed, and I let that go for too long. Mm-hmm. Then, after that, I met my husband, and it was like, and I just knew, and I was like, that's it.
You know? I feel like I used to believe that once I went through all that kind of, like, shitty crap, that once I knew, I would be like, okay, cool. So kudos to you for having the no part, because
I think it's rare. I think it's rare because people aren't always honest with themselves about what they want.
Well, I've been hearing that a lot, where, you know, and you don't have to worry about this because you're a married lady, but, you know, people who are searching for that person, it's like, well, those characteristics have to exist in you first for that person to see you. So, like...
Maybe. Not always. I think it's a little different, like, specifically for, like, hetero relationships. They're...
Interesting.
Well, no, because if... if a woman is going after a man and she wants certain qualities from a man, let's just say that they're typical. Like, they're highly professional, they've got a good job, they're maybe not stoic, but like they're stable, they're secure, they're dependable, they're strong, they have if you go and put those same characteristics in a woman, men are going to gravitate towards that because men don't care about that in the same way that women value that in a man. And marriage has 100% taught me that. If we're gonna talk about 1-to-1, like if I want this, I do this, like very point blank in like a sort of binary kind of way. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's right.
I mean, I went in 2 different lanes when that all started going. I was like, oh fuck, let me find the lane that I want to really bring to the table.
Let's do both.
The first lane is, I think every marriage is different. I think every relationship is.
Absolutely.
Well, I think you can do it any way you want to when it comes to your connections, commitments, marriages, blah, blah, blah. I feel like the reason why we have so many, or had so many, or see so many, or witness so many, or hear so many people's, oh my God, you left me for the blah, blah, and or this, or I cheated, blah, 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 blah. I was a child of a father who literally just was like a rolling stone. Like, yeah. And it's one thing to watch. I never got to watch him and my mom like really talk or like have adult conversations because I was a kid or whatever. But I watched my other friends and my other other family members who were married have different types of marriages, and I was like, so when you said like there's a certain type of stoicness that follows a, quote me if I'm wrong, or correct me if I'm wrong, heteronormative relationship, I was like, I don't think it has anything to do with being straight or gay or whatever. I think it's just like who you are and who he is. And
it's nuanced. Like, you're not wrong about that. Mm-hmm. I think it's a spectrum. So obviously there are going to be some men that don't mind if the woman is more, I guess, like typically what you might consider masculine. Mm-hmm. Very career oriented. Like, you know what I mean? I think there's going to be some men that have a higher tolerance for certain personality characteristics like that. It's not a one-sum game. Like, it's not all, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So there's room for variation, but I think typically, like on a big, like just like in general, if you're like overgeneralize, I don't think in like typical hetero relationships that it's 1-to-1 like that. I just don't.
No,
I would be kidding myself if I said that's how my marriage was, because it's not. And I know and the thing is, like, you see a lot of marriages on social media where women are like that women in power kind of mentality. That works for some people, but I don't think that's the majority. That's the problem, I think social media over portrays that as normal. And I don't think that it is. And I've seen that. I've got a really good dipstick on that with the women that I see in the Navy. Okay. Like, you get to see so much of the population with being in the military. So much. There's types of walks of life that you couldn't even imagine existed until you look at somebody and go, oh, there it is. Like, it's just in front of your face. Right? And it's just not, I don't think that's the norm. I don't.
I mean, I agree. I mean, norm and social construct or status or just, I don't know. I feel like I think there is no norm, but it caught me off guard when you presented it as a masculine feminine type of partnership. And I just recently started following or being more transparent about masculine is not a gender. It's not a right, and feminine is not a gender.
It's like it's characteristics of your personality. It's traits.
Yeah, I feel like it's
more internal than that. It's not just like, you know what I mean.
I think levels of vulnerability and strength, and just like how they web and flow. And I used to always think masculine was men, feminine was women, and which is why it was so difficult when I was growing up as a don't know who you are.
Well, that's the thing. they are tied to the sexes, but they're not exclusive. That's the thing. So there's trends within men and women where those traits do tend to fall just naturally and settle the way that they do, and then you're going to have variation within those traits, and there's nothing wrong with that.
I guess, yeah. I mean, I'm going to agree to disagree in a way where I've been exposed to a different mantra.
Tell me.
It was more like because, I heard this woman ask a question like, what do I do when I'm looking to find an emotionally intelligent or emotionally available man? And it literally was like the woman who was answering her question was like, well, it's you have to be ready for an emotionally intelligent man.
Well, that's true, but that's not what we're talking about.
True, but in the terminology of like masculine and feminine, it's almost like, well, if your man can't be vulnerable and open with you and emotional with you, is he then not masculine?
No, because I think what people do is they conflate that type of stuff with femininity when really it's just a different level of maturity.
Mm-hmm.
I think adults in general, if you stay in certain you hit certain glass ceilings until you really want to dive in and do the work, and the type of things you just described, which were like emotional vulnerability and being open, and which also requires some internal stability, right? You have to be not at peace, but like you have to be grounded a little bit. Like if you're just flying off the handle all the time because you're so emotional, that's not the same as being open.
Well, that's not self-aware. That's not self-regulating. That's that's a completely like you're in a whole different womb before you can even get to this place. Yeah.
Right, but if you're mature, then you can have that relationship with somebody else. And I agree that if you have an immature and a mature person trying to have a relationship, that's not going to work. But I don't think it has anything to do with masculinity or femininity per se as exclusive within like the sex binary. I don't think.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I wish I had the exact quote, and once I find it, I'll send it to you again. Sure. Because that's it. It just stuck with me for a little bit, and then we started, as I started to go into understanding how one presents themselves and how I used to get so many mixed messages, be like, "Branch, you're feminine, branch, you this, blah, 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 blah." And then I just stopped giving a shit. And then I just said, you know what, fine, my recipe is this. I'm 40% Jack, or 40% Will, 30% Jack, then the rest of it's a mixture of Karen and Grace. But,
are those...
Woman Girls Delicious. For Woman Girls.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. That was what the argument was about with my brother-in-law.
Wait.
Yeah.
We had a conversation.
We'll talk about that offline. I don't want to air that out here because that's unprofessional.
But yeah, that was the spark that led to
because of my obsession with the sets. Because I was getting excited about the history that was on like you guys need to get.
It was like a snarn.
What?
Snarn. I just snarn, guys. I just snarn.
Oh, these are gone.
Yeah, just snarn.
Anyway, there was I don't know when and where Will and Grace shot, but it looked a lot like another set that I was familiar with of another TV show that I loved. Right. And I was
in case I don't know, she was a child actress.
Right. And just out of the sheer history and the love for how that happens in
you
like
got a little bit of memory right in there. Like
well, no, from a production standpoint, because I've been on the set of Friends. I know how that looks, and so it's kind of cool if you took all this stuff out of the Friends coffee shop set and update all the furniture. There would still be people who would be able to go, "That's that set," because they just know. And I was having a moment of like, "Oh, that's so cool!" And there was just it was like a miscommunication, and everyone was drunk, and I was a bit too much. I was a bit too into it. I was a bit too obsessed with that moment, and that's how all that started. It was my fault.
So to that, I'm gonna say, do you think that was when a passion turns into poison?
Absolutely, but also alcohol was involved, and I was.
I feel like either way because I put that scene in two different places when we originally talked about it all together. Yeah. But in my mind, I saw two narratives. Like, if it wasn't that, what if it was something that was, like, maybe in the same realm, but for them. And you connected with them, but you had a much deeper, like the same channel. Yeah, like you had a deeper channel to something that they were like, oh yeah, I love that. But you're like, no, I'm in that. Like,
I don't know if that's the way that it went. What would you ask me?
Well, like, would it have been so intense if it was a mutual, like, we started on the same playing field and then like
probably
I went to the gym more, so I got bulkier, but you just did cardio after a while.
The thing is, I wasn't even coming at it from that perspective, so I wouldn't have gone that way.
Okay.
Even if they had gone down that route, it's not a dick measuring contest. Like that's not the way that I was just solely having a historical moment, and it was like going to a museum, and I was like, oh, like you know what I mean? Yeah. And then it just because the whole thing was so misinterpreted and like fucked. I just don't even want to count it, to be honest. There was so much.
You talked about it, and then you told me about it. I was like,
but we're good.
You did all that work, and then you're like, oh.
Yeah. No, exactly.
Oh, okay. Oh.
And me and my brother-in-law are good, by the way. Like, because we worked it out, because we don't avoid conflict, because we're awesome like that.
Because we're choreography communication. Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, I told him about that episode, and the concept of that whole episode, he was like, what? That is so cool.
So check out season 1 and 2 if you guys are new to us in season 2. We definitely have a full season.
Hold on, did it get brighter in here?
It did. Actually, because you know what? The sun came back out.
It did. I bumped my mic, sorry.
I feel like this episode...
I'm gonna go off camera. I'm gonna put the screen down, because I'm like white as shit.
I feel like we have gone into a whole different realm than...
I was about to reach and try to pull that, and I was gonna be embarrassing.
Oh, because I did it the first time? Because that was my genius thing?
Yeah, but you're tall enough to be doing that. I'm too short to think I could just default to do that.
I don't think height had anything to do with the fact that we both went for a thing that literally did not operate that way.
Oh, despite the fact that that's not the way it's made, I was still gonna try to pull it, and I couldn't reach it.
Okay.
But back to obsession.
I feel like we have to like cut out or switch this into something else because we totally.
No. We're gonna keep it because I like the way that this meandered. That's okay.
Yeah, because we went from obsession to the building blocks of a relationship that led to an obsession.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess
we meandered.
It's all passion, baby. It's all passion, power, poses.
So how did this is gonna sound so stupid? How did that make you feel when all of a sudden all that got you took that away and then he was now chasing you?
Fucking annoying. I was so annoyed. Right. I was like, do you know how much work I had to do in myself to get to the point where I was like, you have to go, or I have to go, or this has to change after several walkthroughs, several tripping, several obstacles, several beating your head against the wall, being like, I thought it was me, or I thought it was me, or maybe I can do better. I need to fix this. That was kind of the mentality that I presented in these 2 scenarios. Mm-hmm. And when you just face the music, kind of like what we've been talking about recently, and then outside of all of this, mm-hmm. When you just, when you just hear the music as it needs to be heard without fucking with the volume, or you just listen to it. Mm-hmm. Exactly, and absorb it as it actually is, you will find your answer. And then for them to come back and be like, I heard you.
Yeah, well, it's probably a little... Like, did you feel any essence of betrayal?
That's when passion pisses me off.
Right.
That's when I get really irritated. And that's when but then I look at myself and say, okay, was there anything that I withheld in my, commitment or whatever in my...
That, whatever is
my passion pouch.
The percentage of responsibility for you.
Yeah.
Was there anything that you could have done better, kind of deal, or that?
I think, as you just said that, it hit me in the head. It's like, yeah, you left. That's what you could have done better. You left.
Well, you did leave eventually.
Yeah.
And that taught you something, right?
Not at that time, but
but eventually.
I think we're in eventually now.
Oh, okay.
I think we're hitting
That's
eventually.
fair.
I feel like our whole show has really done a number for me to look at a lot of things, not only because I research and kind of get more understanding about the things I want us to talk about, but also because,
But that's cool.
You don't know me, but you get to see me in a way that I don't really, It's been a while since I've just been like, okay, here you go.
Right. Like, yeah. It's difficult. Absolutely. Well, the cool thing too is it takes a really huge mental shift in yourself to be able to take all of the shit situations that you got yourself into over time and then forgive yourself, because it's not forgiving stupidity. Like, you don't get to forgive and not learn.
But I think that in that very same statement, that's not forgiving yourself. If you're like, I'm so stupid, I'm so sorry. Like, what are you doing?
Well, no, but you know, like, not beating yourself up for it constantly, because whatever happened. If you're able to learn from those things and you're able to pull a positive lesson out of those negative moments in your life, then you win. You know what I mean? You learned something. You got better for it.
I'm trying to...
But that's hard.
I'm trying to, like, sing that song 24/7. There are some times where I take the record and I throw it in the floor. I have to go buy a new one.
It's not always constant. It's usually... I don't think you can live that 100% of the time. I think it's during... Well, but you have to be willing to reflect. That's the hard part. Because no one wants to reflect on how shit they are. So you have to come to that understanding with yourself and reflect, and then be able to pull the principle out of it, you know, like.
Oh, you did it!
I did it! You know?
Sorry, weird. She did the PP.
I can't even tell you how many times. I can't even tell you how many times in my life where I've done dumb things.
I feel like in the sake, you know what? In the sake of passion, I've done some dumb shit.
Absolutely.
Like,
or just ignorance, or being naive, or like all of it. Dumb things happen in life.
I feel like, yeah, and you blame, or you slather them or smother them in the name or the word or the feeling of passion. And you're like, no, bitch, that was just a dumbass mistake. Shit plan.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shit plan. And I think, you know, as we're talking about obsession and craziness and people and places and things, I feel like sometimes internally and externally we have to, that I've gone through, is being like, yeah, that ain't passion, boo. That's persuasion or perception or
obsession.
Psycho.
Well, the other thing is, if you can't see that it's you, that's the other problem. And that's pretty much why I disagreed with you earlier when you said, I don't know if people can be passionate about places and, like, person, places, things. Like,
oh, yeah, okay. Like,
right?
Okay, yeah.
Like, way back. I disagree, because I think people, when they just become blind to how they're acting and what they're doing, and
blind how? Like,
they're not reflecting, and they're not intentionally trying to see what's in front of them for how it is. They're trying to... Well, people lie to themselves all the time.
Oh, I mean...
You know what I mean?
It's ego. It's like
absolutely. But it's blindness. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you're in your blind spots. Like, you don't quite see it. It's not registering. That's not me. Like, that personal ownership, not everyone does that either. So if you can't understand that you're part of the problem, you're never going to get to a solution. And so the obsession with places, and this is an episode that we talked about, what enslaves you. Because I think that's exactly what it is.
I think that's a segue into, like, does your obsession enslave you?
Yeah.
Like,
I think that's how you apply it to places and things.
Okay, fair enough.
That's exactly what it is.
I didn't really put those two together until we talked about it, and we talked about what I talked about with a very dear old friend of mine, of what she thought of the word passion and how she broke it into these interesting layers. But how you just did that, I was like, oh yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah.
But man, remember that question you asked me?
Yeah, what's going on?
Last in the first episode, in the first part of this, and I literally was like, I can't begin to tell you. Oh wait, of the things that I lost. When was the last time you saw, like, had reflected on a happy passion or something? Of you asked me a very
and you. I asked you, what does the word passion bring up for you? And you said all the previous passions.
Yeah, all the things that I do not have anymore. Yeah. And I was like, grief right now is what I think of as like, when I think of the word passion, it immediately transforms into grief, because all the things that I used that I had fulfillment from, I don't do anymore.
Was it passion or is it longing?
See, that's the thing. Like, I feel like this word, like, and I think, which is why I really wish I want us to do another Facebook post, because instead of us getting Jesus and Trump on our post stab at it, that stupid devil dude.
There you go. It wasn't Trump. It was the devil.
He was sewing.
What was a Trump flag?
It
wasn't actual. Okay.
Yeah, it was just weird either way. But I feel like because I asked a woman, a very wise woman who is much older than I, the word about what she thought of it, and it took her a minute. Like she kind of sat there for a minute to put it together. So I was like, we picked a very interesting phrase and word to go off of because it takes us in every direction possible. But when you asked me that question, I was like, oh my god, everything that died, or like everything that stopped,
or there was a sudden change of expectation. Yeah.
Yeah, or just like some of them I had to change because of like just life. Some of them I had to change because of my physical and my health.
Well, so the expectation would be you thought it was going to continue this way, and it did not. That's the
Some of them, yeah. Some of them did, and then others were, I think, now choices, but some were. I don't have definitive reasons of why they were good choices or bad choices or effective.
What are some of the things that you're thinking?
Like painting, like I love like once I love I'm always been a creator, and then I used to always want to rise to a level of being a painter where I had like my style, my moment, my language.
Yeah.
And it was birthed out of a lot of sad shit, sure, but once it was activated, I finally found my eye, my voice, and my I guess like my spirit in art. Like I found how my art literally would start to live with me and transform as I would do more of it each and every single time.
So why did you stop?
Well, sad but true. Certain choices and trinkets, as I would like to say, were introduced in my life, and then all the mental health stuff that was unresolved on top of that led to this kind of hatred, and I respected art so much that I was so disgusted with myself that I was like, you should never do this again.
I'm lost.
When you're okay, I'll use an example. When someone's drunk and you try to give them water, and they eventually I can't drink any water, it's gross. Yeah. They start to avoid it. They just walk away from it. Because it makes them remind themselves of how drunk they were, or how gross they felt when they were drinking, or like something was a trigger. For me, art was like my water when I was drunk.
Okay.
It would be the only thing that would make me feel like a person again, like a connected root to my actual self of like, I'm an emotional person, I'm a sensitive person. Art is the only way that connects me back to that human being. First.
And it was like you were getting burned when you were getting too close to that again?
I felt like I was disrespecting the purity of what it was when I first became, that first moment when you and a curiosity turns into a passion. Or when it turns into, for example, when was that time when you were learning Argentinian tango, where then all of a sudden it was just like, it wasn't choreography, it was just you and movement.
I've had a few of those.
That's what I mean. Like when it no longer stops being
you get absorbed in it.
Not even absorbed, but when it becomes like this second nature, when it becomes like breathing, when it becomes like something that we're taught.
I understand that part of what you're saying. I don't understand why you fell away from it.
Because I got mad at myself, and then in order to protect, I guess, the peace and the beauty of what my art used to be, I was like, I felt like I was disrespecting it, but also laying it to rest respectfully. It's almost like instead of murdering it violently, I laid it to rest.
I guess to me that just doesn't...
It doesn't translate?
It doesn't quite make sense to me. I'm just coming at it from my own perspective of art, right? There's no rules in art.
No.
So... expression is expression, and I guess what I will say is as I draw, right? I don't paint, but I have a hard time finding creative inspiration, and like sometimes, and then if I try to draw at that moment, I can't produce anything. I have to have one of those sort of moments where I get inspired and there's a charge, and then I can draw. And I draw better when I'm like that. And then if I'm not inspired and I try to sit down and force it, can't draw. So there's that. And I understand maybe that could play a part of it. Yeah, absolutely. Oh my God. I had a class for that in college, and I had never been so burnt out in drawing in my life. But I think also if your passions change, that you've seen Avatar, right? The series? Last Airbender? The Last Airbender.
The new one.
No, the cartoon. No. Okay.
Bits, pieces.
So there's a part where like Zuko, right? The firebender that's after the Avatar.
Yes.
Okay. So he eventually he's so fueled by self-hatred and rage and this obsession with getting back with his father and like all this stuff.
Validation.
Like huge, yeah.
Daddy's big old hug.
When he switches sides and joins the good team, he loses his firebending because the rage and all that stuff, that emotion is not fueling his firebending anymore, and he has to find a new passion in order to fuel his firebending. And so there's a whole episode where it's like one of my most favorite episodes because of the message that's in it. So what I'm getting at, I guess, is did you lay it to rest because that familiar part of you where you were drawing on that passion to inspire your painting, it didn't align anymore, and you weren't ready to step in to find a new passionate space, new creative space, and let that inspire your art? Or did it maybe like you didn't feel as if you were being true because your art now will be so different from your art back then? Was there some dissonance going on? Did any of that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
But the first thing that came to my mind was because of like unresolved memories. Okay. Like some of my most inspirational art came from when I like chose to be homeless, and I chose to like walk away from, a structured version of help or a structured version of support or what, it didn't feel like it was me. It felt like my environment wanted me to do it a certain way, and I was like, fuck that. I need to strip it all. So I stripped, I was homeless. And I had nothing else to think about. So I was able to let some of that art back in, or that creativity in, or like time and me really had a different relationship than we do now. And I was like, I don't know if I could ever go back to that place, because when I was at that place, I had to make some very difficult decisions and some very...
So do you find that you just lose yourself? Are you afraid to just lose yourself in that art?
No, I find that part beautiful and ugh.
Well, lose yourself in a sense like it's too time consuming, balancing work life and something like that, where it might affect finances, or is that a part of it?
No, I mean, it used to be. That used to be my excuse, like, bring it's too expensive, you can't do it. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. But like, if it's your art, like,
especially if you're good at it, like, why not?
Man, I'm okay.
Well, you always get better.
Yeah.
You know
I mean,
that's cool, but that's the thing. Like, it's just like if you enjoy it and you love the process and you're semi good at it and you want to get better at it. Like, where's the I understand taking some time off, but I don't know if it needs to be permanently laid to rest, I guess is what I'm getting at. It doesn't quite add up to me.
I see your point, and as we're hitting this, I'm looking at the wall that it's been sitting on, and being like,
yeah.
Like, this is why our conversations literally sometimes I don't even pay attention to you viewers. I'm like, we're really hitting some nails here.
Yeah, but that's just, as you told that story, this is what I heard. And there were just some disconnects that I was a little obtuse on.
I think that's probably what it is. There are some missing pieces. There are some loose wires that haven't been reconnected to kind of turn the lights back on. So, and maybe that's where the work is. You talk a lot about people just doing the work, and I talk a lot about the damage done from outside, like, the tornado. the work is rebuilding, but you can't do shit about the tornado. The tornado was something out of your control. They could predict it and plan for it, but until it's in your shit, fucking up your world, you can't, there's no amount of preparation you can do for the uncontrolled things in your life. So,
well, but also, do you remember way back, I said one time with you off camera, like, I don't think that you on your own solely negotiate your identity. Like, other people need to be with you, and it's good to have friends that will check you and say, hey, this is not right. This is fantastic. And that's how you become a better person, and that's how you can find the ultimate version of yourself. I think that's exactly what it is. Sometimes you in your head, you tell yourself certain things, and like with your artwork, you had justified it within yourself to lay it to rest, when I was just very unclear. I was like, why? It sounds like you should go do it again. It doesn't make any sense, And so we were able to negotiate that for a quick second, and then you realize maybe there's some unfinished business there, and that's really all that matters. Because then you're aware of it, and you can choose to do with that what you want.
True, and I feel like a lot of people, don't have people in their lives that do that, or if they do, and it's their therapist, and it doesn't resonate the same way,
that's layered.
Yeah. Or I feel like just like where we did the first season, it's like people just don't know how to like sit in the room with us anymore.
Right.
And even now, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's like part of me is like, out of your skin, and the other part is like,
I'm sorry.
No. It's not a bad thing. It's more like this is what truth is, and this is what reflection, transparency, vulnerability among two people who respect each other, and
absolutely,
who I try to get my ego out of it as much as I can. But when you have to hear yourself in a moment of what you thought you saw in yourself, it's almost like you just took some more dust off the mirror that you've been looking at your own reflection. And I'm only referencing that from How to Think Like a Monk because I love that excerpt in the book. But I feel like, I agree with you. But I feel like also, I want to know if viewers have gone through has a passion of yours
turned into an obsession,
or have you, quote unquote, laid it to rest?
Yeah.
And have you asked yourself why? And is there a moment of reconciliation, reconnection, recommitment, or is it really just more, is it a resurrection, or do you need to let it rest?
I think sometimes it's okay to let it rest if that needs to be the case. And in your case, it just wasn't quite clear to me. But so there's a time and a place for it. We're not saying like you just start questioning everything in your life that you stop.
Don't, because you will literally be stuck.
Yeah.
I tried doing that recently, and it's the stupidest thing in the world to try to question everything at once. I feel like personal development should be done in small doses. Period. I remember the first.
Some people can take large doses, and some people can't, and do what's best for you.
All I know is my first introduction into PD, which was, I think The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson, and then it just kind of like tumbled into all these other types of illuminating thoughts and thinkings and behaviors and just designing your life by your way, blah, blah, blah. And it was like, oh my God, there's all these tools to help people solve their problems in their life and nobody's fucking doing it. Oh my God, why? All my friends are so sad.
Yeah, I don't get it either. You just gotta pick up the tools.
It took a minute for me to not feel like I was the one saying, guys, it's really blue. And I was like, no, it's been purple the whole time. I'm like, no, I swear, it's blue. Just you gotta go a different turn in a circle, but I did a triangle and a square, and I got to see blue. If you just do it, and it just was so devastating. I was like, my God, all my friends are sad and devastated because they don't want to shit. And then I was like that.
That's,
even worse. So then I was like, I was a part of the obsession of doing nothing. I was part of the passion of doing...
staying mediocre, whatever you want to call it. Like, it's...
Still.
Staying still.
You've been staying still, peeps.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting. So that was, I think that's a very poignant, I think that's a very eye-opening, I still have the light. So for me, just so my viewers know, when Sierra hits me with a good juice and the light bulb goes off, it doesn't like go off. It just kind of like starts. So I have to get a new one because there's too much energy in that one. So I put a new one up there. So I'm gonna pick that one up later. Because otherwise I'll keep thinking about what we just talked about over and over again. So
okay.
Yeah, no, because I love when as a former people pleaser, I don't have people that I am always a person going, no, you're fine. Let's talk about you. Let's walk through your scenario. You know, let's look at all the tools that you need.
Mm-hmm. Did your mic just die? Did both our mics just die? Apologies for the quality. It just went way down. We'll stop it here, and then what do you want to talk about next? What do you think? You up in that ditch.
I think, you know what, I want to switch gears. I want you to pick. I feel like I picked the last couple of talking points. I know you had something really powerful.
The enslaving one?
Yeah, I think I want to talk about,
or anything. Well, we're going to consult our episode list and we'll be right back. But this has been Still Podcast with Sarah and
Be Money. No, I'm just kidding, Brandon.
We'll talk to you guys later.